I didn't find out because she confessed. I found out because she got careless. It was a Wednesday night, the kind where the silence in the house is almost too perfect, like the set of a play where no one dares speak unless they're on cue. The kids had gone to Rachel's mom's for the week, a spontaneous, grandma wants quality time kind of deal that used to sound sweet. Now, looking back, maybe she planned it that way. Maybe she needed the house quiet. She was upstairs, probably brushing her teeth, humming a tune she'd only ever hum in front of a mirror. I was in the kitchen, rinsing out our wine glasses, because we'd managed a rare dinner together. Risotto, Pinot, candles. It was pleasant. Forced, but pleasant. Her phone lit up on the counter beside me. I didn't mean to look. I didn't even touch it. But the words were impossible to miss. Can't stop thinking about you. My heart didn't drop right away. It hesitated, like it was giving me a chance to make sense of it, to reason it away. A friend? A joke? Someone texting the wrong number? But the sender's name made it worse. Ethan, her personal trainer. The guy she raved about for the past 6 months. He's tough, but encouraging, she'd say. Pushes me, but never makes me feel bad. There'd been little comments. Ethan says posture is everything, or Ethan thinks I'm stronger than I realize. I always nodded along, supportive husband mode engaged. Now I stared at his name, blinking on her screen like it was taunting me. I waited for the screen to dim, waited for her to come downstairs, waited for the world to feel normal again. It never did. Instead, I picked up the phone. I don't know what came over me. Curiosity, panic, maybe some sick mix of both. Her passcode hadn't changed. Same birthday. Mine actually. A small mercy or a cruel irony. I opened the message. The thread was long, not vulgar. No graphic sexts or nude photos. But it was worse in some ways. Emotional. Secret gym sessions. Coffee after. Inside jokes. References to that time in the locker room. Flirting that escalated slowly, like they were testing how far they could go without saying too much. Until they did. That last set had me so worked up, I couldn't sleep all night. You didn't mind how I looked in those leggings, did you? Tell me again what you'd do if the gym cameras weren't on. My hands were trembling. I scrolled faster. And then I stopped. A photo. It wasn't pornographic. But it was intimate. Her sitting on a weight bench, sweaty, flushed, hair a mess, biting her lip at the camera. I'd never seen that look on her in years. That half-lust, half-pride smirk. And it wasn't for me. The worst part? I couldn't remember the last time she looked like that in our bedroom. Footsteps creaked on the stairs. I locked the screen and set the phone back where I'd found it. She walked in smiling, wiping her hands on a towel. You still cleaning up? I nodded. Yeah, just finishing. She poured herself a glass of water. Stood next to me. Too close. Too familiar. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just tired. I kissed her cheek. Out of reflex more than anything. And felt her flinch, just slightly. Like she wasn't ready for affection from me. I went to bed early that night. Lay on my side, facing away from her, eyes wide open while she scrolled through that same phone, her fingers dancing on the screen. Occasionally she'd smile at something. Then type. Then wait. Then type again. I didn't ask. I didn't confront her. And that's what killed me more than the betrayal. The way I didn't even feel I had the right to. We hadn't had sex in weeks. Not since her birthday. And even then, it felt scripted, like something from a checklist. I used to think we were just tired, just getting older, that the spark dims over time and you make peace with it. But now I knew she was burning bright somewhere else, with someone else. In the dark, I listened to her breathing, steady, peaceful, like she had no idea the walls were starting to crack. I thought about the gym, about all the times I encouraged her to go, paid for the premium sessions, told her how proud I was of her commitment. What a joke. She turned over in her sleep, facing me. I kept my back to her, blinking up at nothing. I didn't sleep. Not a minute. The next morning, she kissed me goodbye like nothing had changed. You working late tonight? Yeah, I lied. Got some things to catch up on. She nodded, texting as she walked out the door. I sat on the couch, phone in my hand, staring at the contact. Ethan Marshall. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I didn't scream or throw anything or shatter my life in one dramatic sweep. I just sat there, hollowed out. The quiet in our home didn't feel comforting anymore. It felt fake, scripted, a well-rehearsed stage play, and I just realized I wasn't the lead. I wasn't even in the scene. I didn't plan on going to the gym that day. I told Rachel I had a meeting. I even wore my usual work clothes to keep the illusion alive. But after she left, all I could think about was him, Ethan. The way his name sat on her phone like it belonged there. So I drove. I parked down the street from the fitness center, heart pounding in my chest like I was preparing to do something illegal. Maybe I was. Emotionally, anyway. This was new territory for me. The kind that came with sweaty palms and the nauseating twist of betrayal. From the parking lot, I could see the front of the gym, wide glass windows that didn't hide a thing. Inside, Rachel stood at the weights, laughing. Ethan was next to her, his hand casually grazing her lower back, adjusting her posture, or pretending to. His shirt was tight, black, clinging to a frame sculpted to be touched. She didn't flinch from his hand. She leaned into it. I stayed in the car longer than I should have, just watching. There were a dozen ways I could have made a scene, walked in, thrown a punch, made it a headline. But I didn't. Instead, I watched her smile in a way she hadn't around me in months. Maybe longer. She used to look at me like that. The realization was like a slow, spreading frost over my ribs. I left before they saw me. I don't remember the drive home, but I do remember sitting at my desk, the light from my monitor washing everything in that sterile white glow. The logical part of me said I needed proof. Undeniable, concrete proof that Rachel and Ethan were doing more than stretching quads after a workout. So I Googled him. Ethan Marshall, certified trainer, nutrition coach, lives in the city. I scrolled further, half expecting to see some shirtless thirst traps, but what I found stopped me cold. Wedding photo. He was in a tux, standing next to a woman, brunette, elegant, eyes sharp even through a camera lens. The caption said, Ethan and Emily Harper Marshall, married June 2020. Married. He was married. I clicked through the rest of the album, a perfect Instagram tableau of a love story. Engagement in Santorini, matching robes in a spa, dog pictures, anniversary trips. Every image tightened the knot in my stomach. He had a wife. And Rachel had to know. There was no way she didn't. She'd never let a man that close, physically or emotionally, without knowing his life. And that's when it hit me. Maybe Emily didn't know. Maybe she was me, right now, thinking everything was fine while her husband had his hands on someone else's skin. My wife's skin. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I hesitated. What kind of man tells another man's wife that her life is a lie? But something about Emily's eyes in those photos, clear, unflinching, stuck with me. She didn't deserve this. Neither of us did. I stared at my screen for a long time. Then I wrote her name into the search bar. Emily Harper. Marketing. Harper and Locke Consulting. Her LinkedIn was clean, professional, top-tier client list. And her contact email was right there. My heart thundered like I was about to set something on fire. And in a way, I was. I didn't email her. Not yet. Instead, I spent the rest of the day distracted, barely hearing anything my coworkers said. I went home early. Rachel wasn't back yet. I sat in the kitchen, opened a beer, and stared at nothing. When the door opened, I didn't turn right away. I heard her heels, not sneakers, hit the tile. She was dressed up, hair done, makeup still fresh, though a little sweat clung to her collarbone. How was your session? I asked, voice low. She froze. Good. Legs are dead. I turned. Just legs. She tilted her head, studying me. Why are you asking like that? No reason. I sipped my beer. You've just been spending a lot of time there lately. It's a gym, Ben. That's the point. Right. Of course. Just a gym. Just a trainer. I wanted to yell. I wanted to hold up her phone and shout. Can't stop thinking about you? But I didn't. I wasn't ready for the lie. Or the tears. Or the inevitable twisting of facts that made me the villain. Instead, I watched her lie to me with calm, practiced ease. Maybe we should go together sometime, I said. She blinked. You hate the gym. Maybe I just hate working out alone. She smiled at that, but it was tight. Guarded. You'd hate Ethan. He's intense. I bet he is. I finished my drink. I'll think about it. Later that night, I lay awake again while she texted on her phone, the light from the screen casting shadows on our ceiling. I didn't look at her, but my mind wouldn't stop replaying that moment in the car, the way she smiled at him, the way he touched her like he owned her body and she didn't flinch. I got out of bed and went downstairs. I opened my laptop, typed up a message, then deleted it, typed again, deleted. Finally, I just wrote, Hi Emily. You don't know me, but I think you deserve to know something. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the laptop. I wasn't ready, but the fuse was lit. I hit send at 2:13 in the morning. I hadn't planned on it, hadn't even reread the message. I just sat there, her name staring back at me from the screen, and something inside cracked. The kind of crack that doesn't make a sound but shifts the foundation of everything. Emily Harper. I expected nothing. Maybe silence. Maybe a restraining order. Hell, maybe she and Ethan were one of those couples. Open, forgiving, blind. But 3 hours later, at 5:17 a.m., my phone buzzed with an email. I suspected, but it still feels like being punched in the lungs. Can we talk? In person. Emily. She gave me a coffee shop. Neutral ground. Public. Discreet. I responded without thinking. Yes. Of course. I'd be there. The place she picked wasn't trendy or cold. It was one of those warm little cafes tucked away on a quiet street. The kind of place where time slows down and people speak in murmurs. I arrived early, sat near the window, and ordered a black coffee I had no intention of drinking. She walked in 8 minutes late, wearing a tan wool coat over black slacks, hair pulled back like she didn't want to be noticed, but she still was. She carried herself like someone who was used to being in control, but right now, every step looked like it cost her something. Her eyes scanned the room until they found me. We locked eyes. No smile. No softening. Just recognition. She sat down across from me, quietly. Ben. Yeah. Emily. She nodded, folded her hands. There were no pleasantries, no nervous small talk. Just the silence of two people who both knew the same gut-sickening truth, but hadn't said it aloud. I want to hear it from someone who doesn't lie to me, she said, her voice low and steady. What did you see? I took out my phone, scrolled to the screenshots, passed it across the table. She didn't flinch, didn't grab it like some desperate wife unraveling. No, she studied it. Her eyes didn't widen, her mouth didn't tremble. But I saw the flicker. Pain, real and raw, behind her lashes. I always had a feeling, she said, sliding the phone back toward me. But this? With your wife? That's the part one didn't expect. Same, I said. Until last week. I didn't think I had anything to worry about. Did you love her? She asked. Rachel. I swallowed. Yeah, I thought I did. But I also thought she loved me back. Emily laughed. It wasn't joy. It was sharp, hollow. Isn't that the sickest part? We doubt ourselves before we doubt them. She turned her coffee cup, not drinking. Her fingers were perfectly still, but I could feel the tension rolling off her in waves. I thought Ethan just worked a lot, she said. Late clients, early mornings, texts during dinner. And I let him. Because that's what trust is, right? You let the person you love move freely through the world without shackling them. She looked up, but apparently we should have been tighter with the chains. The air between us thickened. I watched her lips press into a hard line, her shoulders folding inward like the weight was finally too much. I'm sorry, I said uselessly. Don't be, she said. You didn't cheat. You didn't lie to me. We sat in silence again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy, familiar, somehow. Shared grief. The kind that makes strangers feel less like strangers. Finally, she leaned in, voice quiet. Do they know we know? I shook my head. Not yet. I haven't said anything to Rachel. I think she assumes I'm still blind. I haven't told Ethan either. I don't know what I wanted. Her hands trembled now. Just a little. Maybe to believe it would stop. It won't, I said. I know. Her gaze lifted to meet mine, and for the first time, her mask cracked. There were tears threatening, but they didn't fall. She blinked them back with the grace of someone used to swallowing her hurt. I don't want revenge, she said, almost like a confession. Me neither, I lied. At least, I thought I was lying. She studied me. But you want them to feel it. Just once. What it's like to be left out in the cold. Yes, I said. No hesitation this time. She leaned back, exhaled hard through her nose. So do I. There was a long pause. A heartbeat. Two. Her eyes dropped to my ring. We could do something, she said slowly. Something harmless. Just enough to shake them. Not to hurt them physically or ruin their lives, but to unsettle them. I didn't respond at first. I couldn't. Was she suggesting what I thought she was? You mean like appearances, she said. Nothing real. But if they think we've found comfort in each other, maybe that's enough to pull the rug out. A twisted part of me lit up. You think they'd believe it? She smiled then. Small. Almost dangerous. I think they believe whatever makes them feel like they're losing something. I looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't playing. This wasn't some scorned woman dragging me into a melodrama. This was calculated, clear-eyed retaliation, not from malice, but from pain, from survival. We set rules, I said, before I could talk myself out of it. Lines we don't cross. Agreed. No touching. No real, sex, she said, meeting my eyes. Of course not. This is theater, not porn. We both smiled. And for the first time in days, I felt a spark. Not of romance, not yet, but of power. Of not being powerless. Of taking something back. Emily reached for her bag. I'll send you a list of places they frequent. We'll go slow. Keep it casual. Photos, sightings, whispers. Nothing dramatic. I stood up with her, heart pounding. As we walked out of that cafe, she paused and glanced over her shoulder at me. Let's make them feel it, Ben. And for the first time since I saw that message on Rachel's phone, I did. We met again 2 days later. Same cafe. Same booth by the window. Only this time, there was less shock between us and more calculation. Emily came prepared. She pulled out a folded piece of paper and slid it across the table. These are the spots Ethan drags me to when he's trying to play perfect husband. Wine bars. That obnoxious Thai place he claims has the best green curry in the city. They're all places he wouldn't risk bringing Rachel, but he'd definitely bring her to watch me. I unfolded the list. Names, addresses, ideal days. She even marked a few with stars. You've put some thought into this. I do marketing, she said with a dry smile. I know how to curate appearances. I reached for my coffee. So what exactly are we curating? Emily leaned back, arms crossed. A soft scandal. A believable connection. Enough closeness to catch their attention, but not so much that they can claim we're crossing the same lines they did. I nodded slowly, still unsure if I was crazy or brilliant. You realize we're about to start lying, right? Lying to make liars uncomfortable. Her mouth twitched. Feels poetic. We agreed on a timeline, twice a week, sometimes planned outings, sometimes spontaneous. Just enough to seed doubt. Photos we'd post, but not tag each other. Comments left casually. Little crumbs. The rules were clear. No sex. No romantic attachment. If one of us wanted out, we'd end it cleanly. We're allies, she said firmly. Not lovers. This is a pact, not a passion project. I agreed. It made sense. It kept things in check. But even then, I think we both knew that what we were building wasn't going to stay clean forever. Our first appearance was subtle. Drinks at a rooftop bar where Rachel used to take me before she got too busy for date nights. Emily wore a sleek black blouse tucked into dark jeans. Her makeup was minimal, her eyes sharper than ever. You look different tonight, I said when I saw her. Different how? Less like a wife. More like a woman with options. She tilted her head. And how do I look to you? Like someone Ethan would hate to see me with. Her lips curved, amused. Perfect. We took a few photos. One of me leaning in close, like I was whispering something that made her laugh. Another of her reaching for my hand across the table, fingers barely touching. None of it was real, but it felt real. And that's when I realized the danger. It wasn't in the pretending. It was in how easy pretending came. 2 days later, Emily sent me a screenshot. Ethan had liked one of the photos. No comment. No text. Just a silent acknowledgement. He saw it, she messaged. So did Rachel. She hadn't said anything, but I caught her glancing at my phone more often, asking what I was doing after work, suggesting we should reconnect one weekend. Like suddenly I had value again, like my worth was tied to someone else wanting me. Funny how that works. The next time Emily and I went out, we didn't plan anything elaborate. Just a casual lunch at a trendy corner cafe Rachel had once declared her secret spot. I made sure we sat outside. I made sure we laughed. As we walked back to her car, Emily bumped my arm with hers. This is kind of fun, she admitted. Terrible, but fun. I smirked. There's a word for that. Schadenfreude. There's a better word for it, she said. Power. She was right. We'd both been powerless for so long. Now, even if it was built on illusions, we were steering the ship. For once. Later that week, Rachel stopped me in the kitchen while I was making coffee. Who's Emily? I didn't look up. A friend. From where? From now. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there watching me. You've never been the type to make new friends. I stirred cream into my mug. Maybe you've forgotten what type I am. That shut her up. Ethan, according to Emily, had started asking about me. That guy your friend was with, what's his story? He'd said over dinner one night. Emily just shrugged. New guy? Seems sweet. Sweet. I'd take it. Our plan escalated slowly. We attended an art gallery together, one Rachel and I had visited years ago, back when she still looked at me like I was her future and not some fixture in her house. Emily wore red that night, bold and deliberate. I stood close enough that it would look like a date, but never touched her. She touched me, though, just a hand on my forearm, a quick lean in as she whispered a fake compliment about a painting neither of us understood. The tension was unreal. Both of us knew the rules. Both of us felt how close we were to crossing one. Afterward, in the parking garage, she turned to me. Do you think they're jealous yet? I nodded. Definitely. And do you feel better? That one stopped me. No, I said. But I feel seen. For the first time in a while. Emily's eyes softened, just a bit. Yeah, me too. Then she smiled. Not the one we rehearsed, but something smaller. Quieter. We said goodbye like normal. No hug. No lingering. But I sat in my car for 10 minutes afterward, wondering if a fake affair could heal a real wound. Or if it was just another knife, twisted deeper. It started with a dance. Not a romantic one. Not at first. Emily and I had been invited, purposefully, to a charity event held at a boutique hotel downtown. We weren't part of the crowd that usually got these invites, but Emily pulled strings through a friend at her firm. It's the kind of place Rachel used to drag Ethan to, she'd said, adjusting her earrings in the mirror of my car as we parked outside. They love being seen in all the right places. So we let them see us. Exactly. She stepped out in a silver dress that didn't just shimmer, it commanded. Her back was bare, her legs impossibly long in those heels. For a split second, I forgot we were pretending. Inside, everything was velvet and low lights. Jazz hummed under the clink of glasses. Couples swayed on the dance floor, the air filled with the soft, syrupy smell of aged whiskey and old money. We weren't supposed to stand out. That was the rule. Blend in. Appear casual. But Emily didn't blend in. Neither did I, standing beside her, tailored jacket fitting just right. Her arm slipped through mine as we made our way to the bar. She leaned in close. Ethan's here. I didn't ask how she knew. I just felt the shift in her spine, the sudden stiffness in her breath. Rachel's not with him, she added, after a beat. Even better. We ordered drinks and took our time, laughing at nothing, letting our bodies angle just enough to be interpreted the wrong way. Or maybe the right way, depending on who was watching. Then the band changed tempo. A smooth, low-linger kind of melody filled the room. A few couples made their way to the dance floor. Emily turned to me, smiling. Not the fake one, not the mask, but something real. Dance with me. I blinked. I thought we said. We did. She took my hand anyway. But if we don't sell this, it won't work. She pulled me gently toward the floor. Her hand slid into mine, her other settling lightly on my shoulder. Our bodies didn't touch, not really. But we were close enough to feel each other's heat. I haven't danced in years, I murmured. You're doing fine. She was right. It was effortless. The rhythm, the sway, the quiet between us. And somewhere in the middle of that song, that stupid, slow song, something changed. Her fingers tightened around mine. My breath caught when her chest brushed mine, even slightly. I looked at her, expecting to see calculation, but instead saw something else. Longing. Vulnerability. And then I kissed her. I didn't plan it. I didn't think it. It just happened. My hand on her lower back, her breath catching, the distance closing. Her lips, soft, parted, met mine halfway. It wasn't hungry or dramatic. It was delicate. Real. When we pulled apart, neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The script had broken. The rest of the night was a blur. We didn't leave together. We didn't touch again. But everything had shifted. I could feel it in the silence of my car, in the buzz that lingered in my fingertips. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did she, apparently. Her text came at 2:04 a.m. We didn't mean for that, right? I stared at the screen, fingers hovering over the reply. I could lie. Say it was part of the act. Say it didn't mean anything. But my heart was still racing. No, but I'm not sorry. She didn't reply. The next time we met, a bookstore downtown where Rachel sometimes browsed on Sunday mornings, things were different. We were still playing our parts. Laughing too loud. Standing too close. But the air between us was tight. Heavy. I reached past her for a book on the shelf, and our fingers brushed. She pulled back like the touch burned her. Are we crossing a line? She asked softly. I exhaled. I think we already did. She stared at the cover of a novel she wasn't really reading. We can't afford to screw this up. We said no real feelings. I know. She turned to me then, eyes sharp but glassy. Then tell me it meant nothing. I couldn't. So I didn't. That night, Rachel confronted me. She stood in the kitchen, arms folded, phone in hand. Who is she? I blinked. Emily. Her eyes narrowed. You're not just hanging out. No, I said. We're not. She took a step back, like the admission physically pushed her. So that's it. You're screwing some woman out of revenge? My laugh was bitter. Funny. That's exactly what you did. Except you weren't honest about it. She looked away. It wasn't serious. But it was real. And you hid it. For months. Silence. Then she whispered, You don't love her. I didn't say I did, I replied. But the truth sat on my tongue, burning. Because I didn't know anymore. This had started as a show. A cruel little theater. But that kiss, that shift, that warmth I hadn't felt in years, it wasn't part of the plan. Emily wasn't part of the plan. And yet, there she was, in my thoughts, in my messages, in the space Rachel used to occupy without question. Later, Emily called. I didn't sleep, she said. Me neither. A beat of silence. Then, I think we need to talk. Yeah, I said. We really do. We met again in the park. It was late. Quiet. The kind of cool October evening where the trees whisper secrets and the street lamps cast long shadows. We sat on a bench beneath a canopy of turning leaves, bundled in coats, coffee cups steaming in our hands. Not a date. Not a trap. Just two people in the middle of something neither of us had words for. Emily was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, it wasn't what I expected. I used to feel invisible. Her voice barely rose above the wind. I turned to look at her, but she kept her eyes ahead, watching a couple walk past with their dog. With Ethan, she said. It started so small. He'd forget things I told him. Tune me out mid-sentence. Cancel dinner to train someone. At first, I thought it was just life, stress, work. But then I realized I could be a ghost in our house, and he wouldn't notice. I didn't interrupt. I just listened, letting the silence stretch where it needed to. I thought maybe it was me, she continued, that I wasn't enough. So I dressed differently. I cooked more. I said yes to everything. And he still looked through me like I was background noise. She finally turned to me. Her eyes were glassy but hard. And then I saw the messages. From your wife. I nodded slowly. I know that feeling. Rachel used to touch me in the hallway for no reason. She'd whisper things in my ear that had nothing to do with sex, just intimacy, being close. Then one day it stopped. No warning. Just gone. Like someone turned off a light. Exactly. Emily took a shaky breath. That kiss, it wasn't just revenge. I swallowed. No, it wasn't. Another pause. This one heavier. I don't know what this is, Ben, she said. But pretending it's still just a plan feels dishonest. We set rules. And we broke them, I finished. She looked down at her cup, shaking her head with a bitter laugh. What a mess. But it didn't feel messy. It felt honest. The pretending had been messy. The lies, the performances, the games. This was clean. Painful, yes. Complicated. But real. I think we need to stop lying, I said. To who? To ourselves. That silenced her. She looked at me, really looked at me, like she was trying to decide if she wanted to take a step towards something or run the other way. I don't want to be a rebound, she said quietly. Or your weapon. You're not, I said. You're the first person I've been seen by in years. She blinked fast. I saw her jaw twitch, like she was fighting something behind her teeth. I want to believe you, she whispered. But I don't trust much of anything right now. Then let's just not define it, not rush it, but not lie about it either. She didn't speak for a long time, but she didn't move away when I reached over and slid my hand into hers. Our fingers laced like they'd done it before. When we left the park that night, we didn't kiss. We didn't make promises. We just walked back to our cars in silence. But her fingers brushed mine as she turned away, and I knew it wasn't over. The next few days blurred. We still performed, a few photos here and there, a staged run-in at a wine bar Ethan and Rachel loved. But the lines were gone. There was no longer a clear distinction between the act and the undercurrent of truth swelling beneath it. At a rooftop dinner one evening, She reached across the table and brushed something from my cheek, something invisible. It lingered longer than it needed to. Her fingers soft, slow. And I wanted her. Not out of vengeance. Not to even the score. But because I saw her. And I knew she saw me too. We didn't talk about the kiss again. But it hung between us like a pulled thread, waiting to unravel everything. That Thursday, she came to my place. I hadn't planned it. She'd had a rough day. Ethan had accused her of flirting with someone else at the gym. Ironic, considering his track record. She said she didn't want to be alone, and I didn't want to let her be. We sat on my couch, drinking wine, watching a movie we didn't care about. Her head slowly fell against my shoulder. I could smell her shampoo, something clean, a little citrus, completely unlike Rachel's perfume. It didn't remind me of anyone but her. That alone felt revolutionary. You ever think about going back? She asked suddenly. To Rachel? She nodded. I thought for a moment. Sometimes. Not because I want her, but because it would be easier than starting over. Emily was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I used to fantasize about Ethan apologizing, begging, promising to change. Now, when I imagine it, I don't feel anything. Her head tilted up. I looked down. There was no fanfare this time. No violin soundtrack. Just the smallest lean, and her lips touched mine. Soft. Intentional. This wasn't pretend. She pulled back a breath later, but neither of us moved away. We should stop, she whispered. I know. But we didn't. The kiss deepened. Her hands slid to my jaw, mine to her hips. We didn't undress. Didn't rush it. Just stayed in that moment, holding each other like we were both remembering what being wanted felt like. Eventually, she pulled back and rested her forehead against mine. We're in trouble, aren't we? Yeah, I whispered. The good kind. She smiled then. Small. Honest. And for the first time since Rachel's betrayal, I felt something close to peace. I should have known it couldn't stay hidden. The pretending, the tension, the looks, someone was bound to see, to say something, to set it all in motion. I just didn't expect it to happen like this. It was a Friday night. Emily and I had met for dinner at a small Italian place tucked into the side of a quiet street. It wasn't a place we'd chosen to be seen. In fact, it was the opposite. Our first attempt at doing something normal together, no audience, no Instagram stories, no forced coincidences. Just a meal. Just her. Just me. The lights were low. Candles flickered in red glass. A small jazz trio played in the corner, the kind of music that made you lean in just a little too close, your voice softer, your skin more aware of touch. We sat in a corner booth, her hand on the table, mine brushing against it. Every time our fingers touched, my chest tightened. It still surprised me. That flutter of something I'd forgotten how to feel. It felt real. We were halfway through dessert when I saw Rachel. I didn't register it right away. Just a flash of movement by the entrance, a familiar shade of lipstick, the cadence of her voice. Then my stomach dropped. She wasn't alone. She walked in with a group of coworkers, the kind that laugh too loudly and drink too quickly. And she was in the middle of them, radiant, like nothing had ever touched her. Then her eyes found us. Everything stopped. I watched it happen. The second her smile froze, the way her posture stiffened, how her gaze dropped to Emily's hand on mine. Emily felt it too. She didn't let go. Rachel stormed across the restaurant like she owned the damn place. Her heels clicked like gunshots on the tile floor. I barely had time to rise before she was at our table. What the hell is this? Her voice wasn't quiet. Heads turned. Forks paused midair. I stood slowly, shielding Emily with my body without even thinking. Rachel. No. You don't get to act righteous, she hissed. You're screwing her now? Emily stood too, calm but ready. We were just having dinner. Oh, spare me, Rachel snapped. You think I haven't seen your little flirt fest on social media? The photo ops? The pathetic attempts to make me jealous? They weren't attempts, I said flatly. They were working. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes flashed. You're a child, she spat. You think this little charade, makes you look strong? It makes you look pathetic, Ben. And what did you look like sneaking around with your trainer? Silence. That shut her up. Emily didn't move. She didn't flinch. She just looked at Rachel with a kind of quiet, composed fury that made her seem 10 feet tall. Rachel scoffed. This is revenge? You pick up my boyfriend's sloppy seconds and call it power? I stepped forward. No. This is clarity. You showed me what loyalty means to you. I'm just finally showing you what self-respect looks like. The room was dead quiet now. Rachel's face twisted, rage, embarrassment, fear, maybe all three. She looked at Emily one last time, and for a second, I swear I saw something that almost looked like doubt. Like maybe she'd realized she didn't win. Then she turned and walked out. No goodbye, no dramatic slap, just silence. Emily sat back down first. Her hands were shaking slightly as she reached for her glass of water. I joined her, unsure whether to laugh or scream. That went well, she said after a moment. I couldn't help it. I chuckled, a dry, cracked thing that turned into something real. She's going to burn the world down, I muttered. Emily nodded. Let her try. The fallout was immediate. Rachel moved out the next day. No speech, no begging, just boxes gone, her name off the mailbox, silence where there used to be noise. I came home to an emptier house and an open space in the closet that looked more like freedom than loss. Ethan, according to Emily, wasn't as subtle. He screamed, threw accusations, called her a liar, a whore, a traitor. She didn't flinch. She told him she knew, told him about the messages, the lies, the late-night gym sessions that weren't about fitness. He didn't deny any of it, but he did threaten divorce. Do it, she told him. You think I want to stay married to a man who treats me like furniture? I met her that night, at her place. She was still dressed from work, blazer off, hair pinned up, eyes raw. She looked more alive than I'd ever seen her. He said, I'm going to regret this, she said. Do you? No. I walked toward her, slow. You? I shook my head. Not for a second. We didn't pretend that night. There were no cameras, no onlookers, no plan. Just two people who'd been cracked open, found each other in the wreckage, and decided not to let go. We kissed, long, deep, with hands desperate and slow, like trying to memorize each other's edges. And when we ended up tangled on her couch, breathing hard, clothes loosened but untouched beyond suggestion, it wasn't about revenge. It was about comfort, about belonging. When I left, it was past midnight. She walked me to the door, her fingers still laced with mine. I think the game's over, she said. I nodded. Good. Because I don't want to play anymore. I kissed her once more, gently. Neither do I. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was acting. The first thing I noticed was the quiet. It wasn't the kind of quiet that makes you lonely. It was the kind that wraps around you like a warm blanket after a thunderstorm. Rachel was gone. Her scent no longer lingered on the pillows. Her voice didn't echo off the walls with cold detachment. No passive-aggressive texts. No walking on eggshells. Just silence. And peace. The gossip, of course, came next. You don't humiliate someone like Rachel and expect silence. Words spread like wildfire. Friends we used to double date with stopped replying to my texts. Neighbors who once waved while mowing their lawns suddenly acted like I was invisible. My sister, who had always quietly admired Rachel, called to check on me, but couldn't resist asking how long the affair with Emily had been going on. I never cheated, I told her. You sure? I hung up before I said something I'd regret. Emily was getting it worse. Ethan had apparently spun a narrative where she'd seduced me out of spite, the bitter, scorned wife of a man too perfect for her. Her job was safe, but the tension was real. Co-workers whispering in halls. Meetings where people stopped talking when she walked in. She held her head high, but I saw the cracks in her armor during our late-night calls. This town thrives on moral superiority, she said one night. Even when half of them are doing worse behind closed doors. They'll forget. No, they won't, she said. But I will. Still, we clung to each other. We weren't hiding anymore. Emily came over on weekends. I helped her rearrange her apartment, fixed her leaky faucet, cooked dinner while she sat on the counter, and teased me about my knife skills. We weren't rushing into love, but we weren't running from it either. Then Rachel showed up. I came home on a Tuesday to find her sitting on the porch steps like nothing had changed, like she hadn't burned the whole house down and walked away. She stood as I pulled into the driveway, her arms folded tight across her chest. I shouldn't be here, she said. No, you shouldn't. I just need to talk. The urge to turn around was strong, but I opened the door and let her inside. The space felt foreign with her in it again, like seeing a ghost wear your skin. She didn't sit, just stood in the middle of the living room, looking around. You changed the curtains. I did. And you moved the couch. I like it better this way. She nodded like that mattered. I made a mistake, Ben. I said nothing. I got caught up in something stupid. It was never real. Ethan, I mean. It was excitement. It was validation. But it wasn't us. There hasn't been an us in a long time. She flinched, but didn't deny it. I know I hurt you. And you had every right to be angry. I wasn't angry, I said. I was erased. I was the guy folding your laundry while you got off on someone telling you your squats were sexy. Her eyes glistened. I miss you. I looked at her then. Really looked. And maybe once, those words would have gutted me. But now they just sat there, dull and hollow. You missed the version of me who didn't see through you. That's not fair. No. It's finally honest. She stepped forward. Ben, this thing with Emily, it's not real. You were just hurting. You needed someone to fill a void. I stiffened. And you think that void should be you? I was you, she said. Before everything fell apart. You were the reason it fell apart. Silence. Then softer. I want to try again. I'm willing to go to therapy. To do whatever it takes. I closed my eyes. And there it was, the pull of familiarity. The temptation of what's known, what's easy to explain to friends and family. The house. The shared history. The years. But I saw Emily's face. Not in bed. Not laughing. I saw her on my porch, barefoot, holding coffee. I saw her curled under my arm at midnight while the credits of a bad movie rolled. I saw her wiping her eyes with the back of her hand after holding it together all day. And I knew. You don't get to come back now, I said. Rachel looked stunned. You walked out and didn't look back. You made me feel like a placeholder. And when you realized you couldn't replace me, now I'm supposed to just, what? Thank you for the opportunity? Tears slid down her cheeks. She didn't bother to wipe them. I'm sorry, she whispered. So am I. She left without another word. I called Emily that night. She was quiet on the other end after I told her. Do you want to go back to her? She asked, voice unreadable. No. She'll try again. She already did. And I told her no. A beat of silence. Then why? Because she doesn't see me. Not the way you do. She exhaled. I thought maybe you'd go back. You have a history. A life. I want a future, I said. Not a rerun. Another pause. Do you mean that? I didn't hesitate. Yes. She didn't cry, but her voice cracked when she whispered. Okay. That weekend, we watched the sun rise together from my backyard. Her head on my shoulder. My arm wrapped around her waist. No noise. No ghosts. Just light, slowly breaking through. I should have told her I met with Rachel. Not days later. Not after things started slipping. Right then. In that moment. I should have told Emily. She showed up, and I said no. Simple. Transparent. But I didn't. I thought I was protecting her. Instead, I left just enough silence for doubt to creep in. The shift came subtly. Emily's text got shorter. Her smile at the door dimmed. She still showed up on Friday nights, still curled next to me under the blanket, still kissed me goodbye with a hand brushing my cheek. But something was missing. It was presence. I asked her once, you okay? She nodded, too quickly. Work's just intense. But it wasn't work. It was something deeper. Something quieter. On Wednesday, she canceled dinner. I'm just tired, she said over the phone. I need a night to myself. I didn't press. But I didn't believe her, either. So I did something I hadn't done since Rachel. Something I promised myself I wouldn't do again. I checked her location. It wasn't at her apartment. It was at Ethan's. The restaurant was crowded, but my focus narrowed the second I walked in. Emily sat across from Ethan at a dimly lit corner table. She was leaning back, arms crossed, eyes flat. He, on the other hand, looked like a man grasping for something just out of reach, hunched slightly, hand twitching on his glass. They weren't laughing. They weren't touching. But they were there. Together. I didn't go in. I didn't make a scene. I just stood outside and watched until they both stood. Ethan trying to say something. Emily brushing past him. He looked angry. She looked done. And when she exited the building, her eyes locked on me like she knew I'd be there. Because maybe she did. She didn't stop walking. Just passed me on the sidewalk and muttered, You followed me? No, I said. I checked your phone. Her jaw tightened. Jesus, Ben. Why were you with him? She stopped then, spun toward me. Her eyes weren't angry. They were hurt. Because I thought you were going back to her. I froze. I heard you two talking, she said, voice trembling. That night, I came by to drop off your jacket and saw her on the porch. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard enough. My mouth went dry. I told her no. But you didn't tell me. Silence. You said we weren't playing games anymore, she continued. But then she shows up, and suddenly you're silent again. It felt too familiar. Too much like before. I stepped forward. You should have asked me. And you should have told me. We stared at each other on the sidewalk, people weaving past, city lights flickering in puddles. The tension wasn't about betrayal, not this time. It was fear. Fear of getting it wrong again. Fear of handing your heart to someone who doesn't catch it. I met with Ethan, she said finally, because he begged me to. He said he made a mistake, that he wanted to fix things. My stomach twisted. And? I asked. She looked away. For a second, I wanted to believe him. Not because I love him, but because I'm tired, Ben. I'm tired of rebuilding from ashes. I didn't respond. I didn't have the right words. Because I understood. God, did I understand? He asked me to come home, she said. Said we could reset. And what did you say? I told him it was too late. Relief swept through me, not because I doubted her, but because I knew how hard that choice must have been. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her key to my place. Pressed it into my palm. I can't do this if I'm going to second-guess every silence, she said. If we're going to keep acting like scared people pretending we're okay. I nodded. Neither can I. She turned, started to walk away. Emily. She stopped. I want you. Not because you're a distraction. Not because you're better than her. But because you see me. Because I see you. And I'm not letting that go because we're both afraid. She didn't speak. Just stared at me across the rain-speckled street. Then she came back. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just one steady step after another. And when she reached me, she took my face in her hands and kissed me hard. Not the kind of kiss that asks questions, but the kind that answers them. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too, I said. But I'm here. She slid the key back into my hand. And we walked away from the past. Together. The day Emily said goodbye to her old life, she did it quietly. No social media post. No suitcase-dragging dramatics. Just a final walk through the apartment she used to share with Ethan. I waited outside in my car, the engine running, watching shadows move past the window as she moved from room to room. When she finally stepped out, her hands were empty. I didn't want to take anything, she said. Just left the key on the counter and the ring in a drawer. I didn't ask if Ethan was home. I didn't need to. Her silence told me everything. We didn't talk much on the drive back to my place. She stared out the window. I kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting on my thigh, resisting the urge to reach for hers. She needed space, and I'd finally learned the difference between presence and pressure. When we pulled into the driveway, she didn't move right away. I feel like I should cry, she said softly. You don't have to. She turned to me. But shouldn't I? I just left my marriage. You mourned it a long time ago, I said. Today, you just walked away. She looked at me like I'd cracked something open inside her, not with force, but with truth. Inside, she curled up on the couch with a blanket and tea, wearing one of my sweatshirts and no makeup. She looked raw, beautiful, human. I sat on the opposite end, giving her space, but she reached for my hand and tugged it into her lap. Tell me something honest, she said. I thought for a moment. I thought I'd feel victorious when Rachel left. Like I'd won. But you didn't. No. I just felt quiet, like the war ended, but I'd lost too many parts of myself to celebrate. She nodded slowly. Me too. We sat in silence, just the hum of the heater and the soft buzz of autumn wind pressing against the windows. Then she shifted closer until our knees touched, our hands fully entwined. Ben, she said. I turned toward her. Her eyes were brimming, but not with sadness. With clarity. I think I'm in love with you. Time stopped. Not in the cinematic, slow-motion way. Just a pause, like the world took a breath and waited to see what I'd say. I didn't rush. I didn't doubt. I know I'm in love with you, I said. Tears slipped from the corners of her eyes. This started with so much pain. I thought it was just survival. But you didn't just help me heal. You made me want more. I cupped her face in both hands, brushing her tears with my thumbs. You made me remember who I used to be, before I got small to fit inside someone else's life. We kissed, slow, unhurried, like it wasn't about need or passion, but about recognition. She wasn't Rachel. I wasn't Ethan. We weren't filling old roles. We were building something brand new. That night, we made love for the first time. Not sex. Not heat-driven fumbling. But real intimacy, slow movements, whispered reassurances, touches that said I see you, not I need to forget them. Her body beneath mine, her hands clutching my back, the way her mouth gasped my name like it was sacred. Afterward, We lay tangled in sheets, limbs knotted, hearts bare. I traced the curve of her spine with a finger. What now? She rested her head on my chest. We stopped looking back. I nodded. We build forward. A few days later, we signed the lease on a small studio space. It was Emily's idea, actually. We should do something with this, she said, tossing me a protein bar after a run. Not the revenge. The healing. The rediscovery. There are people who need that. So we did. We rented a modest storefront on the edge of downtown. Big windows, high ceilings, the smell of potential clinging to the air. We painted the walls ourselves, arguing over shades of white like an old married couple. She designed the logo. I built the website. We called it Reset, a place for people to start again. Not just with their bodies, with their lives. Opening day was quiet. Just a few curious walk-ins, some neighbors, an older woman who asked if we offered yoga for divorcees. We told her we would. But it wasn't about the crowd. It was about the promise. That night, Emily locked the door behind our last guest and turned to me, her cheeks flushed, her hair pulled into a messy knot. You proud of us? She asked. I stepped behind her, slid my arms around her waist, and kissed the back of her neck. I'm proud of you, I said. We danced right there, in the middle of the studio. No music, no rhythm, just the soft echo of our footsteps on the floor and the slow, steady beat of something that felt like hope. The past didn't vanish. It still knocked sometimes, in the form of an email from Rachel or a rumor about Ethan getting caught texting one of his clients. But we didn't answer the door. We'd already walked through it, into something better, and we weren't going back. 6 months later, Emily's hand is still the first one I reach for in the dark. It's strange how something born in pain, in betrayal, in rage, could lead to this. Quiet mornings, sleepy smiles over mismatched mugs, shared playlists on rainy afternoons. We still argue sometimes, still tiptoe around the wreckage that made us, but we always find our way back to center. Back to each other. The studio is thriving. Reset became something real, not just a clever name, but a movement. Word spread fast. A place that doesn't just sculpt bodies, but helps rebuild lives. We don't advertise revenge, but people come to us with stories in their eyes. The recently divorced, the bruised, the lost. They show up with slumped shoulders and guarded stares. And we help them breathe again. We don't sell healing. We practice it. Together. One Tuesday morning, I was wiping down equipment when I saw her. Rachel. She stood in the doorway like a ghost, unsure if she was allowed to enter. Her hair was shorter, her makeup minimal. She looked older somehow. Or maybe just less, polished, more real. I walked toward her, careful. Didn't expect to see you here, I said gently. She gave a half smile. Neither did I. A beat passed between us. I'm not here to make trouble, she added. I just wanted to see it. The studio? You, she said quietly. You after me. That landed harder than I expected. I'm doing okay, I said. I can see that. She looked around. This place feels good. It is. She swallowed. I won't stay. I just wanted to say something. I waited. I was selfish. With Ethan. With us. I wanted to feel wanted, and I didn't care what it cost. I nodded slowly. Took me a while to see that. But yeah. She took a breath. I hope you're happy, Ben. I really do. I am. She turned to leave, but paused. You know, I used to think revenge was childish. But now, I think maybe it's just what people do when no one's listening. I didn't reply. She walked out. I haven't seen her since. Later that night, I told Emily about the encounter while she folded laundry in bed. She didn't tense. She didn't question. She was right, though, I said. About what? Revenge. Emily folded a t-shirt, set it on the stack. What about it? It wasn't the reward. She looked up. It was the spark, I said. The thing that finally burned down what needed to fall. Emily crawled across the bed and kissed my cheek. Sometimes fire's the only thing that tells us we're still alive. She stayed close after that, her head on my shoulder, her fingers tangled with mine. The thing about betrayal is that it's never really about the sex. It's about the erasure, the slow fading of yourself in someone else's shadow. I didn't lose Rachel when she cheated. I lost her when she stopped seeing me. When I started apologizing for things I didn't do just to keep the peace. When I shrank to fit the shape of her expectations. Emily never asked me to shrink. She met me where I was, messy, wounded, unfinished, and she stood in the fire with me, Not because she wanted to burn Rachel or Ethan, but because she wanted to find something honest in the ashes. I don't believe in soulmates, but I believe in survivors. In two people crawling from wreckage and finding shelter in each other. In learning to touch again without flinching. In building something new, not on clean foundations, but on scarred ground. Stronger, because we know how easily it all can fall. Sometimes people ask how Emily and I met. We lie. We say mutual friends, or a fitness thing, or timing. But the truth? We met in the ruins. And we didn't rescue each other. We recognized each other. And maybe that's the real love story. Not the fairy tale, but the one where two broken hearts chose not to stay broken.